Shabbat Shalom. The rabbi and I, a few weeks ago, we were speaking about helping the community better understand and appreciate what we're trying to convey as a message that is found in Torah. And we were discussing of maybe having classes, studies, and at the end we decided that the best thing would be to have small capsules that I would give every Shabbat, and these capsules would follow each other to make at the end a whole study, right? So this week I will start my first capsule. And the idea behind these little studies is to help you better understand the Torah perspective as opposed to traditional understanding, whether in the Jewish circles or in the Christian circles. So this week, I would like for you to remember this principle. Okay? The Torah was, how could I say this? The Torah was written for us, but the Torah was not written to us. Okay, the Torah was written for us, but the Torah was not written to us. What's the difference? The difference is that the Torah, when I say it was written for us, is that we can come to the Torah and extract from it principles that will help us deal with our contemporary issues. It was not written to us. I mean that the Torah was written in a specific time, in a specific culture, to a specific people. For that reason, because the Torah was not written to us, we have to be careful when we come to the text and read it, because we're reading someone else's mail. We're reading someone else's text. It is not our text. This text belongs to a specific cultural context in this very specific time in history, ancient Israel. So when we understand that principle, that reality, then we come to the text and we are more careful, because we understand that we have to extract from it the message. But we have to respect the context in which the message was given. What we have now are translations in different languages. And as you know, well, I don't know if you know, but if you don't know, I'll tell you. All the translations, whether in Christian circles or in Jewish circles, all of them have been tampered with. I'll give you one example. In the stone Humash, from the Art Scroll edition, when you read that there is only one Torah for you and the stranger amongst you, in that edition, they changed the word stranger, which in Hebrew is ger, gerim, stranger, to convert. Why would they do that? Because they had to manipulate the translation in order to fit their theology. And believe me, it's not only in Jewish circles that they do that. They do that in Christian circles too. They tampered with the text in order to fit their theology, their beliefs, their dogmas. So, what we have is a translation of what? a translation of a text that was written in Hebrew. But is it sufficient to know that the text was written in Hebrew? No, it is not. Because that language was a language that is united or attached to a specific mentality, a specific culture, a specific vision of life, a specific understanding of what they perceived as reality. I'll give you one example for you to understand what I mean in a more practical sense. When you go to Genesis, the book of Genesis tells us that God created man and women, humanity, to his likeness and image. In Hebrew, tselem Elokim. In the image of God, he created man and woman, humanity. Now you would say, so? But you see, those words, in their ancient context, in those ancient understandings, was revolutionary. How so? Because Tselem Elokim, image of God, was given, according to the understanding of those days, to a few select people. Kings and gods they became. Pharaoh was a Tselem Elokim. He was the bearer of God's image. And then comes Torah and says, no, not a few select are Tselem Elokim. All of you are Tselem Elokim. That was revolutionary in those days. We read it, doesn't mean anything to us. But they read it, and it impacted their perspective. You mean that not only a few of us are Tselem Elokim? God created us all equal? Yes, that is what the Torah is trying to teach us. And because the nations understood that Tselem Elokim was a few select, they created and developed a system called slavery because of that mentality. If you have a few select, then the rest, what are they? Slaves. That's just one. I'll give you another example. If you noticed in Parashat Mishpatim, God never abolishes slavery. Have you noticed that? He doesn't abolish slavery. How come? Why is that? Because God wanted the people of Israel to understand that they had a current reality, a social, cultural, economical reality, and he was, through his teachings, he was telling them that there is an ideal reality, meaning you can have slaves because that is your culture, your mentality, your social structures. Slavery is part of your world. But I, as the Creator, are telling you that your slave, every Shabbat, will not work. What? Why is that? Because I want this slave to experience freedom. That was revolutionary. Not only that, but then after God says, after a cycle of 7 years, this slave will be freed. Why? because freedom is the ideal reality, not slavery. And so God wanted to teach Israel that slowly the collective understanding of certain things had to change, but he could not change it drastically. Rambam teaches this in the Guide of the Perplexed. It had to be a process. He could not come and cut everything out. Why do you think that God established a system of offering, animal offerings, like the other nations? In practice, but in understanding was very different. So the other nation could bring animal offerings, but their understanding of what it meant to bring an offering to their gods was to manipulate their gods, or maybe to appease the gods. And God came and says, your social context is of certain ritual practices, and I will give it to you. I won't take it away with you from you, but I will give it a different understanding, a different emphasis. When I was, I'll give you a small, because it's coming to my head. When I went to Guatemala as a minister, and I worked with the missionaries from Vancouver, I remember that I first arrived. Don't forget, I never went to Central America. I did not know the culture, the mentality. The only thing I knew was Montreal. My parents never gave me much instruction of my culture, so I lost it. And when I went to Guatemala, not only do I went to Central America, but part of it was in the mountains, and the other part was in the jungle. And in the mountains, I was working with indigenous people, different groups. And all the groups had different colors in their dressing. Okay, some were blue, some were black, some were red. All were from a different caste. And I remember that I was in the Jeep with one of the missionaries, and some ladies were walking in the road, and I took out my camera, and I just took a picture. And the ladies coming were furious at me, were screaming, and the missionary that was with me said, "Hide your camera, put it in your bag." And I said, what happened? What did I do? I don't understand. I just took a picture. And he explained to me, these people believe that when you take a picture, you're taking part of their souls with you. Now they have to go to a shaman to make sure that you did not take part of their soul. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. Culture. It wasn't my culture. I had to make sure that I understood their world in order to properly communicate with them. I went to the market. We wanted to buy lemons, right? And the lady said to us, "Un quetzal la mano." 1 quetzal, or the currency of Guatemala, let's just say $1 the hand. I was with my friend. I said, $1 the hand? He says, yes. So my friend, who was he was from Spain. I said he was big. He had big hands, right? I said, put your hands in there and grab as many as you can, because they said $1 the hand. So my friend just put his hands and he drew lemons. And the lady says, what are you doing? I said $1 the hand, meaning for them, 5 lemons for $1. My understanding is as much lemons as you can have in your hands for $1. I had to make sure later on that I understood different aspects of that culture. So coming back to Torah, same thing. We're dealing with a specific culture, a specific world, a specific language. And if we are to be students of the Torah, we have to take in account that fact. If we do not take into account that fact, what will happen, and it did happen, is that we are going to read that document with our own understanding, and we are going to impose on the text what we want. And that is what happened throughout history. And now, in order to come to the essence of the message of Torah, you have to walk through and discard so many crazy ideas that has been established throughout generations. And that hurts a lot of people. Because when you realize that the message of God is simple and very practical, and we take away all of these stories and legends, it's hard and it's difficult. Because we were brought up that way. We were brought up to believe in those stories. But God never intended us to believe in those stories. God said that He wants to make of us a kingdom of priests. What does that mean? Does it mean that God wants Israel to take control of humanity and subjugate humanity? No. A kingdom of priests, a liaison between the nations and God, to be an example to the rest of the world. For what purpose? In order to bring the rest of the world, through our example, to the Creator. That's what it means to be a kingdom of priests. A link between humanity and God Himself. Shabbat Shalom. I think I took